today, ma'am?
Yes, sir, I have. We started early this morning and definitely continuing on into the evening.
Very good. Okay, so I think we have, let me see the news agencies here. I see Christopher. To our timing, and I will acknowledge too that we have Donna from Wista. Donna Woodson is joining us. Mayor Joins, if you will start us off, sir, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Ed, and good afternoon, everyone. I acknowledge all my colleagues who are on this call from the City Council that are here today. I want to add my thanks. I'm sure the council joins me in thanking the first responders, the public safety officials, our crews that are out pushing the streets, putting out salt, and working to keep the city going and safe during this storm Izzy, as we called it. Last night, I did execute a state of emergency here in the city. I did it for a number of reasons. First of all, we're doing a little bit of forward looking to if things get more and more out of hand, if there is widespread power outages, for instance, and people have to leave their homes and go to shelters or whatever, we could put a curfew in place, for instance, to help the police to protect the homes and vacant properties that are out there. We also might need to close off certain sections of the city because of the street conditions or very hazardous conditions there. And then thirdly, we're setting ourselves up if this thing escalates and there are federal and or state dollars for disaster reimbursement expenses, we want to make sure that the city is ready to take advantage of those for our budget, because this is a budget hitter there with all the salt, the overtime, and the cost of running the trucks and vehicles out there. But again, I want to thank so many of our city employees who stepped up. As if you read about, you know that we've got a little bit of a tough situation personnel-wise in some of our departments, and we've had to pull in folks from other departments to fill in here, and I greatly appreciate that personally and on behalf of the 250,000 citizens here that are depending on them. So thank you for joining us today, and that's the reason we put the state of emergency in place.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have any words you wanted to share, and then following any council members? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We will go now to Randy Britton. Randy has been working with DOT and streets over the last, I guess, 4 days now, and he has been the one representing the city and speaking on behalf about what our staffs have been doing to get the roads taken care of and be prepared for the snow. Randy, if you would, go ahead and give us an update.
Good afternoon. It's good to be with you. The folks, I think we all can be proud of. They are doing a fantastic job in pulling together and meeting the challenges that they see in front of them. And I can't say enough about the planning that they have been doing. And planning has been the key, paramount to the success that we've had thus far with this particular event. To the mayor's point, we've been challenged by staffing shortages. We've come together, but more importantly, we recognize those shortages early on, and in doing that, we were able to deal with it accordingly. Well, what I wanted to share with you today is where we stand as of 7 o'clock this morning, as far as the numbers are concerned, but also give you a brief update as to what's happened thus far or since dawn. Last night, we started with running 2 12-hour rotating shifts. We have been running 19 plows and spreader trucks through the first 12-hour shift and even through the second. They are manned with single personnel. We're not doubled up. Some will double up. We have the luxury of having access personnel, but we are doing what's done with that. We've actually used 9,000 tons of salt so far. We keep a supply of about 2,000, so we feel good about where we are. The actual work that's been done includes every major road in the city has been treated at least once. Now that treatment includes brining and or salting. So we are, as a matter of fact, that was completed by 7 o'clock this morning. And in today's shift, which started at 7 a.m., we actually are in the second round of treatment. We've actually shared some of the materials that we have on hand with the school system to help them out. That's salt and brine. We've actually used other departments to take care of their respective facilities with some of that same salt and brine as they have needed it, but that's not included in the 9,000 tons that we have actually used. So that speaks volumes, is just the ability of the employees to come together and do what we have to do in order to take care of our citizens in our city. The challenges that we face are no different once we get beyond the staffing challenges that we always see with these types of events. It was interesting. We did a media face-to-face live shots this morning at 6 a.m. And right in the midst of that, maybe 5 minutes before, we began to get the wind and we began to get snow. And before we were finished with the media events, we were all cold. We were all chilled, to say the least. We were also snow covered, but that continued over the course of the next 2 hours. Our folks are keeping a close eye on the forecast. We expect that we will be getting some sleet, freezing rain this afternoon with the precipitation that's already on the ground, which is snow. In most places, and it is close to 2 inches. We have actually started using the plows. Those of you who are familiar with how we go about doing this will recall that we usually will begin plowing once we hit the 2-inch depth level on any kind of snow accumulation. So in the round of the second treatment, we are engaging the plows. So we are salting, we are plowing, and we are brining as we speak. The thing that is most concerning, thing that we've got to keep the closest eye on, is the temperature. The temperature is not expected to go above freezing until tomorrow afternoon. And even then, it's going to get barely above freezing. That being said, we're going to get a crusting more than likely on top of what we have. So it's imperative that we put down a pretty good amount of salt so we can do the de-icing work that it does along with pushing the snow. That's where we stand right now. We'll have a transition to the next group or the next shift, if you will, that'll happen at 7 p.m. tonight. We're not in a position now to say that this is going to be a multiple day event, other than to know we know that we're going to need the next shift and possibly into tomorrow. After that, we don't know. I will say to you that the storm room is open. It is a scaled down version, but it is open and it is being used effectively.
Thank you, Randy. Is there anyone on the call that would like to offer any questions for Randy? I'll start with Christopher O'Brien from Spectrum. Do you have any questions for Randy?
I do not at the time, but if something comes up after another question, I'll raise my hand.
Okay. All right.
Appreciate
Very
it.
good. Thank you. Anyone else with a question for Randy Britton? Okay. See none. We're going to move on to Tabitha Childress. Tabitha is in the Winston-Salem Fire Department, and I know you all were busy for a moment there. Tabitha, would you just give us an update on some of the fire operations to this point?
Absolutely. Fire department has responded to the following residential calls for service this morning. First, at the 2500 block of Reynolds Drive, the cause of fire was electrical malfunction. There were no injuries and no displacements. The second call was for service at the 2700 block of Glen Haven Road. The cause of fire there was furnace malfunction, and there were no injuries there either. Those were the two residential calls for service thus far.
All right, thank you so much. Let's switch over. If there were no questions for Tabitha, I don't see any hands raised. I am going to move us over to Lieutenant Lovejoy. If you give us an update on the kinds of calls you all have received today.
Absolutely. I'm working day shift today for the city of Winston-Salem, and we came in this morning roughly around 6:15-ish to try to help midnight shift get out. You know, like you said earlier, we came into snowing. Roads weren't bad. Salt trucks, you could see them on the highways and the city streets being prepared, ready for the day to progress. As we went through the day, early about mid-morning, we actually, I'm sorry.
I think our call got dropped, and we'll just pause just one moment. Let's give her time to try to enter back. Professor Bell, if you can help us get her back, if she goes into the waiting room, that'd be great.
So we're going to try this again, and I apologize. They're calling me from the field, so evidently we've had a call for service come in. There's another field lieutenant going, and I apologize. Like I was saying, we came in, basically the calls for service that we've responded to today, the bulk of them have been assist motorists that are stranded on the side of the roadway, motorists that are trying to get up hills with vehicles that are not going to clear the snow-packed roads. We've had some security checks. Most of those have been because of the wind that we've had, down trees, blocking roads, which obviously would prevent the fire department from getting down on emergency calls. So we're addressing those as they're coming in. Alarms due to the wind, that is not unusual. When the wind picks up, typically on a good day, we will have an excess of alarm calls for service. But I would say that most of the calls for service we've been out on are assist motorists. We've had some minor injury wrecks, single car accident wrecks in the guardrails on the highways, things of that nature. But overall, we've handled roughly 200 to about 300 calls for service since midnight. And we're continuing to handle those calls as they come in at the best that we can with the crew that we have. and I apologize for the disconnect.
All right. Technology will do that to us sometimes. Thank you, Lieutenant. I am going to switch over now, and let's see. We have Jimmy Flythe from Duke Energy. Received so much information from Duke over the last week. Some of you may not be aware they have their own meteorologists that keep up with so much of this weather information. Jimmy, thank you for the work that your folks have been doing. Saw the great picture of looked like hundreds of people coming in from Florida. But would you give us an update, please?
Sure. Thanks, Ed. I want to say, too, and add my thanks to all the city and county staff and officials that are doing such a great job to keep us safe and informed. And thank you, Ed, for pushing out some of the messaging that we've had from Duke Energy, trying to keep folks safe as well. I will say, fortunately, so far, we've been pretty lucky in Flythe County. We do have some outages, but as I look out my window now, it's sleeting, which doesn't typically stick to the trees as bad as ice. And our meteorologist kind of said that we're hoping for sleet, but if it had been more freezing rain, we'd have a lot worse situation. Currently in Flythe County, we've got, I think, about 17, as I checked just before this call, about 17 outages affecting about 2,400 customers. The biggest part of that was one outage that happened around 2:30 out off of Jonestown Road, and that's affecting about 1,700 customers on that one outage. We've got crews. Everybody came in this morning, all of our crews and local contractors and staff ready to respond to the outages, and they're ready to go. And as these outages are coming in, they're responding. Overall, in North Carolina, we've got over 3,000 outage events and affecting more than 100,000 customers. And that number is kind of going up and down. I think the highest I've seen across both Carolinas was about 130,000, but it's been consistently above 100. So we'll hope for continued sleet, and maybe by the time it warms up enough, the moisture will have transitioned out. But we're ready to respond. We've got over 11,000 resources ready to respond to the storm in both Carolinas. We've had more than 4,000 line and tree contractors and damage assessors come into the Carolinas, and they're staged at different places. I think mostly the closest spot here, we've got a lot of crews staged over at the Corey Convention Center. They got a big parking lot, a lot of hotel rooms for folks, and they're getting dispatched to the areas that are hit the hardest. I think really for us, the closest here that seems to be hit pretty hard, one of the hardest hit areas is down around Asheboro, a little southeast of Asheboro, a little east and southeast of us. And we'll hope that most of that stays that way, and we'll be able to send resources to help them when we get out of the clear. But rest assured, we're going to continue to work and until all the lights are restored. And we've got folks that are going hard at it, and really do appreciate our folks for getting out there. When we do have outages, I'd just like to remind folks that it's going to take a little while. Travel is going to be slow in these conditions, and work and restoration work is going to be a little bit slow in this, but we've got resources to put on it, and they'll safely get the power restored. So be glad to take any questions.
Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, hey Jimmy, it's Chris O'Brien, Spectrum News. Quick question: if I heard Ed correct, he said you guys have people coming in from Florida, correct? Some crews coming in from Florida. Do we have a number on exactly how many that might be right now?
I don't know that number from Florida. Like I said, I think from all other states outside of our normal Carolina service territory, there are more than 4,000. And I think I saw a note, some of those are coming from Oklahoma and Texas. And most of those came yesterday, traveling in, and some I think were arriving this morning. But we've had Duke Energy crews from the Midwest, from our service territories up there that aren't affected by this storm, as well as Florida. So, we're kind of all hands on deck. And I think with the way this storm was set up, our meteorologists, as well as the National Weather Service meteorologists, were kind of predicting that North and South Carolina, there was sort of a kidney-shaped area throughout both states that was, potential impact for a ½ inch of ice, which once you get above a ¼ inch of ice, is when we start to see outages. When you get to a ½ inch, you've got just, when I've seen storms in years past, it can be devastating as far as the amount of storm outages. So we were fingers crossed and hoping for a lot of sleet, not freezing rain.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jimmy? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. We'll move now to August Vernon. He is the Director of Emergency Management, a city county department housed here in the city. Vernon?
Yes, sir. Ed, can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
I'm having some internet issues. So good afternoon, everyone. The Winston-Salem Flythe County Office of Emergency Management has been planning and monitoring this storm for at least the past week. And we continue to monitor the ongoing winter weather storm and stay in contact with all of our local city, county, regional, and state partners, and including our good partners with Winston-Salem Police Department, Winston-Salem Fire Department, and Jimmy Flythe, who I've spoken to several times this week. One example, we just wrapped up another weather briefing with the National Weather Service in Raleigh, and I've spoken directly with the North Carolina Division of Emergency Management multiple times today. They stand ready to assist the counties. The emergency management team stands ready to respond and assist any of our partners with any major issues or incidents that occur as a result of the storm. So right now, our number one message to the public is to just basically shelter in place, hunker down and try to stay warm and stay safe. As we've already heard, travel is extremely challenging right now, so absolutely stay off the roads. And if you lose power, please use caution with alternative heating sources. So in closing, there's more information on overall emergency preparedness information that can be found online at readyforsyth.org or readync.gov. And I'm ready for any questions that anyone may have.
Not seeing any questions, we're going to circle back, and I'm going to just again provide an opportunity to Mayor Joines, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, any of our council members if they wanted to speak. But I also see that we have city manager as well as assistant city managers on. Any of you have anything that you'd like to say as closing words? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you, Ed. Thank you to all of you for all of the hard work you're doing to ensure the safety of our city. My question is, are we getting the brunt of this versus High Point, Greensboro, and other areas in the Triad? Anybody? No Doppler people on here? Come on, let's take a shot.
Well, that's all I can do is take a shot, Mayor Pro Tem. Actually, the Triad Piedmont is probably getting one of the biggest brunts in North Carolina because the storm is going to stay around the longest in the Triad area. If you're looking at some of the weather radar, it's already, traveling through South Carolina, the tail end of this, and it will end this evening. But the way the forecast set up, we're just going to see a lot of it for a lot longer than some of the other areas. But you have to remember with these kind of storms, a 1 degree temperature difference makes all the difference in the world. And so that's a little challenging to forecast sometimes.
Thank you.
And let me just conclude, if we could, and again, thank everyone for being here today. Thank our city staff for this great job of being prepared to handle this. Even with being short-staffed, they've worked hard to make it happen. I would reiterate the message that we try to give today. If you don't have to go out, don't. Stay home, stay off the streets. Let us push them off and get them ready for tomorrow if we can. Also, be very careful if you do have to use alternative heat sources, because we hear so many times folks doing things to keep their house warm and die from carbon monoxide poisoning. So again, thanks everyone for your hard work, and let's all hang together on this. We'll get through it.
All right. Thank you all so much. Christopher, you will be the reporter of the year if I can get you on air to say cityofws.org/jobs. We are hiring, my friend. So please share that. Thank you all so much for being on the call. Thank you. We'll update media later on this evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.